Hello and welcome to Core Finance. I'm Matt Brown, joined today by Colin Hutchinson, CEO of Ascent Resources plc. A very busy month and a busy year for you thus far, Colin. So can you just explain to our viewers new to Ascent Resources what you do, where you operate, and some recent updates?
Sure, Matt. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Ascent Resources plc, for those who don't know, we're an onshore European exploration production company listed on the AIM since about 2003. Principal asset is the Petišovci field, which is in northeastern Slovenia on the border with Croatia and Hungary and Austria. Ascent's been in Slovenia for about 10 years. We drilled the 2 wells in 2011. They flowed very well. We paused then trying to find a way to get that gas to market. We've been trying to get a permit to build a processing plant in Petišovci, which will allow us to put the gas into the grid. That's still ongoing, and I can update you on that. But last year what happened, which really changed things significantly for the company, was we signed a gas sales agreement with INA, who are Croatia's largest oil and gas company. That allows us to ship the gas over the border, virtually untreated, slightly dehydrated. So over the last year we've recompleted our first 2 wells, Pg-10 and Pg-11a. We've rehabilitated the pipeline which ran between Croatia and Slovenia, which hadn't been used since the days of Yugoslavia. So that's been it's brought into condition to use, it's been pressure tested, it's been recertified on both sides of the border. And we've also refurbished and upgraded some of the processing equipment that we need to take the water and the condensate out of the gas before we put it in the pipeline. So all that's been accomplished over the last year or so, and happily at the beginning of November we finally started shipping gas to Croatia. So it's a big moment for the company. It makes us profitable. It'll make us cash generative from January when the first invoice is paid, and it really then puts us on a strong footing to develop the project in Petišovci and also to grow the company elsewhere.
So the 2 wells, you've got Pg-11a, Pg-10.
Yeah. The
flow rates at the moment, and a lot of shareholders will be asking, why aren't they at full capacity? Why aren't you going great guns? You've got everything lined up. You've got the pipeline there into Croatia. Yeah. Why isn't it all flowing through and more cash is being generated?
Exactly. So, I mean, Pg-10, we recompleted it and flow tested it earlier this year in February, and it tested at 8.8 million cubic feet a day. It's currently, we're producing at a maximum of around 2.1, 2.2 million cubic feet a day to INA. The reason for that is these are high pressure, high temperature gas wells. You don't open them up and run them at full tilt from day one. We're running both. We've got Pg-11a as well. It tested at sort of 2+ million cubic feet a day when it was first recompleted, and we're running both 10 and 11 either together and one individually. So we're running them up to the maximum that we can send to INA, and the reason for that is we're testing how the reservoir performs, how the well performs, and then the INA contract is set in such a way that we can step that up gradually. So once we get confident, and we published the first week's production data there earlier this month, and we're continuing to test and to move the rates up and down. We'll set the rate for future, and we'll progressively step it up. So there is room to move it up to the upper range of the INA contract, and I've said before that the INA will really take as much gas as we can produce. We have developed the infrastructure in such a way that there's room to grow probably 3-fold from what we're sending at the moment. And the contract with INA is structured in such a way that we can send them that gas. The reason for setting a maximum in the contract is that they have to book capacity and we have to pay for capacity based on the maximum. So you don't want to put a maximum of 10 million cubic feet a day in that contract, or you're paying for that even if you're only going to send them 2.5. Yes. So we've set it in a sensible way, but we'll be able to progress as we get more comfortable with the wells, and indeed as we sort of re-enter other existing wells.
So, P shareholders, what kind of timescale do you think you'll be putting on and actually upping that production, upping the flow rate?
Well, our intention, my hope is that we get it up to the sort of the maximum end of the INA contract as quickly as possible. So once the subsurface guys and the reservoir engineers are comfortable with what's been going on, then we can up that to the sort of upper end of the INA contract, and then we can take it from there. If the wells are continuing to perform at the upper end of the INA contract, then we can step it up further, and that's the plan.
And you mentioned being profitable certainly on an EBITDA level at the moment. what stage do you think that will start to be reflected in the share price? I mean, there's positive updates, a company that will generate profits, hopefully. Why no real move in the share price?
The share price has been very puzzling and disappointing, to be honest. I mean, we at long last we started selling gas to Ian at the beginning of this month, and the share price has actually gone backwards from that point, which is impossible for me to understand. I try not to obsess about it too much. I mean, all we can really do is continue to develop things operationally, so get the wells, get the production up on the first 2 wells, get the plans in place to re-enter existing wells, and keep the pressure on the government to get the IPPC permit delivered.
And with regards to, and we mentioned this permit, looking at, and I think it's part phase 2 or phase 3 of where you want to be over the coming years, Slovenia National Grid and actually supplying into that national grid. Can you just update us on where that is currently at the moment? Yeah,
I mean, as I said, we can send send a lot more gas to Croatia at the moment. So the IPPC permit isn't the be-all and end-all that it once was. But regardless, it's a very important milestone for the company, because it allows us to build our own processing plant and sell gas into the Slovenian grid. That allows us to increase our volumes really as high as we want, and also will give us a better price for the gas. That permit application it's been approved by the government several times. The last time was in May of this year, and there's one party who's objected, and he's taken us to court. So we're waiting for the administrative court to give us their ruling on his appeal. Now, he's been knocked back every time he's appealed in the past, so we're confident, we're hopeful that we'll get a favourable decision from the court. There's no actual court hearing. We don't get instructed to turn up in Ljubljana on the next Wednesday or whatever. But what happens is the judge sits, reviews the case, confers with 2 of his colleagues, and sends a judgment. So that judgment could really come through at any point, and we're hopeful, obviously, that it's favourable.
So coming to the year end, are you happy that everything's been on track for Ascent Resources, a good 2017, and what can we expect in 2018? Yeah,
I mean, I'm really happy with what we've done operationally this year. I'm really happy that the 2 wells, not easy to recomplete and get the high pressure, high temperature gas wells flowing, those have both been accomplished. We've refurbished the plant, which was tricky to sort of refurbish a plant from the 1980s, stick within the existing permitting guidelines, and accomplish all that, and then get the pipeline recertified on both sides of the border has been a big job, and mainly on the bureaucratic side to try and get it through the Croatian civil service. But we've accomplished all that, and gas is flowing. So really, at the beginning of the year, that was the main objective, was to get gas flowing. So I'm very happy and very excited for what next year brings, to get production increased and to start to develop the project.
Well, lots of exciting things to look forward to. But in the meantime, Colin Hutchinson, CEO of Ascent Resources PLC, thank you for joining us in Core Finance.
Thank you.